We got a panel discussion here for you this afternoon. Some really great guys in the industry that have kept their businesses running for decades, and that is really quite an achievement. Most independent restaurants go out of business within the first year, and the average lifespan of an American restaurant is only 5 years. But we're going to look at some guys who've been doing this for decades and try to figure out the secret to their longevity. I'll introduce you to our panelists, and as I do, each panelist, I'd just like you to kind of give us a little bit of information, background on yourself. And we'll start here on my left with John Arena.
Okay. I'm John Arena from Metro Pizza in Las Vegas. I've been making pizzas with my partner, my business partner, who's my cousin. September will be 52 years, so a little way. It's the only job I've ever had. I'm basically unhireable for anything other than making pizzas. I have 5 locations here in town, plus a licensed operation in the airport. I make pizzas every day. And for me, that's part of the key to what we do. You have to stay engaged. My main recommendation is if you have an office in your restaurant, seal it up, stay out of it. Be on the floor with your people and your customers. If there's no pizza oven in your office, don't go in there.
Thank you, John. Giovanni, you're up next. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your operation.
Sure. I'm Giovanni Cesarano. I'm from Long Island. The pizzeria is called King Umberto's. We're located in Elmont, right near the Belmont racetrack. I don't know if we have horse racing fans here. We've been there since 1976. If you guys can't tell, I'm a second-generation owner, not a first-generation owner. Just trying to keep my family tradition alive. We try to use the best product. We try to provide the best customer service. And, we just try, at the end of the day, we're just trying to make a good pizza that everybody enjoys. And, these two guys, it's an honor to be on this stage with these two guys next to me. I know, I hope you don't get offended when I say this. I'm a little younger than you guys, but I have a lot of experience based off the help that these two have provided me, as well as the older generation. And again, I'm just trying to make them proud.
Thanks. And last but not least, we have Tony Troiano.
My name's Tony Troiano. I own JB Albertos Pizza in Chicago, Illinois. We've been established since 1965. We've owned it since 1978. Prior to that, I was lucky enough to have a father who was in the industry, so even at the age of 5, I was going in his first pizzeria, wiping down tables, doing all the little things we've done, shred a little cheese, and from then on, it just continued on. And, by the age of 12, I was a fairly accomplished pizza maker. I don't know if maybe I'm still not that accomplished of a pizza maker because we're still learning every day. But, so I've basically been in the business and in the industry my entire life. I still love what I do, and I'm happy to share my experiences, and hopefully you guys can have some longevity in an industry that we obviously all love because we're all here together for a purpose. So,
thank you, Tony. As you guys all know, this year something special is going on, and that we're cross-promoting the Pizza Expo with the Artesian Bakery Expo. And one important factor in this session is we recognize that our crust is basically, I've termed it the foundation of your creation. And it really goes along with the bakery, the Baking Expo. And so what I want to ask all of you panelists here is how important and when in time, how did you develop your crust recipe, that very important foundation of your pizza? Tony, would you like to start us off with that?
Well, that was basically from inception, from when my father started way back in the day. So when we bought JB Albertos in 1978, we just continued that recipe, and it literally has not changed one bit. We've never cheapened or tried anything different to try to speed up the process. I don't think there's any fast way to do things that taste good. I think things take time, and really don't mess with success. Once you have something that's going well for you, don't really change it. So it's pretty much the same recipe we started with from the beginning, at least as far as the pizza crust itself is concerned.
John Arena? John Arena?
Okay. Yeah. I'll start off by saying that Tony is one of my best friends in the industry, and I totally disagree with him. My dad we started out in the pizza business. My dad originally was a bread baker in New York, in Little Italy. And he has a lot of knowledge about bread baking and technique and ingredients. But I was fortunate enough to have a father who said, if it ain't broke, break it and then fix it. Keep evolving. It's great to have an old family recipe that you said, and you tell yourself, well, my recipe never changes. Maybe your recipe never changes, but your customers change. I guarantee that your customer today knows more about pizza than they did 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They probably know more about the process than many pizza makers knew 20 years ago. You have customers coming in nowadays that are asking you about hydration, protein content, fermentation times, all of the intricacies. And you have pizza makers now in the industry that are becoming accomplished bread bakers and taking those bread baking techniques and introducing them into their pizza. It used to be that our dough was basically, you took all the ingredients, you threw them in the mixer, and you pushed the button, and then you went and watched TV for 20 minutes. And that. And you're getting away with it, but you're also calling me at 2:00 in the morning to ask me a question about something that you're doing with your methods. So it's important to keep evolving, keep experimenting, try to be up on the latest techniques. We're essentially bread bakers when it comes to dough, and I think that the biggest change to me in the industry over the last 20 years has been the introduction of bread baking technique into the process. And people are doing things with dough now that's way more sophisticated than what we did 10, 15, 20 years ago. In my case, 50 years ago.
Giovanni?
This is a tough question for me because I come from an old school Italian family, and my dad is, I don't know if you guys understand Italian, he's a Albertos. He's very hard-headed. So a lot of times when I suggested changing our New York style dough recipe, he always, fought me on it. And, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So what I decided to do, other than work on a product that's been selling well, is introduce new products, use new formulas. For example, with the help of John Arena and a lot of other pizza makers in the industry, I've recently introduced a Roman-style pizza, a pizza in palla, which is more hydrated. I use different flour products. And for our gluten-free, I've introduced the gluten-free Sicilian, which is obviously going to be a different dough formula from our regular pizza. So instead of fighting with my father every morning, I decided to create new products and market them in a different way. So we've had the same dough recipe, very similar to Tony, since 1976. It's worked well for us. With our regular dough recipe, we make regular, we make grandma, we make Sicilian, we make garlic sticks and dinner rolls. So that's 5 different products with one dough recipe. So my dad, said to me, "What are you, crazy? Why do you want to change this?" So I've learned to agree with him. It does make sense. What he's doing is right. So again, instead of fighting with him, I decided to introduce some new products and experiment that way. So this way we can both be happy. I don't know if anybody here works with their dad, so.
Thanks a lot. One of the very interesting things that I learned when I was doing research for this panel discussion was when you're talking about businesses that have been in business for a long time, family seems to be a very important thread that you see in these situations, and it's respect for that family. John and Tony, both of your dads, helped start it out. Well, Giovanni, you too. And the families passed this on and really ingrained that into their kids' hearts and made them a part of the business. So that was just a very impressive thing to me, that you could pass on that kind of passion and love. And you can see what these guys have going for it. And I think you can hear by what they're saying how important it would be for all of us to take a minute and go over to the Artesian Bakery show and check out what's going on there if you want to add something new to your business. So let's start with Giovanni. Your dad founded the business, and it was, what, 30, how long ago was it for you guys?
My dad wasn't the founder. He had his own pizzeria before coming to King Umberto's.
Okay.
He's been there since we opened in '76. My dad started there making pizzas in '82, and then he had the opportunity to invest in the business in the early '90s, and that's when my family got introduced to King Umberto.
Okay. And then you're part of the business. How old were you when you started working in the business?
14 years old, I was the coat check kid. I check coats on the restaurant side.
I think it's kind of interesting if you ever read their story. You guys are you have a brother that, well, now you're back at the house with the pizza place. And with your father, was there an uncle involved too?
No, we had partners.
Partners.
Yeah.
So you had the front of the house and the back of the house. So it's kind of interesting how they all had their role and kind of stayed in the position, just like in a family. You got mom and dad and the kids, and everybody has their place and knows where it is, and it all works together then. John, you said your dad started out in a bakery.
Right, he started out in a bread bakery in Little Italy in the 1930s. My dad is 90 years old. He comes to the store every day and works, and he's putting the whip to me every day. So I get to work with. I've had an opportunity to work with my dad my whole life. I don't have any children, but I have Chris Decker, who's been with me for over 22 years, who's like a son to me.
Yeah, Chris.
And an amazing pizza maker. There's that family thread that runs through our businesses for all of us. And it's an important thing to build a culture and be able to transmit that culture to another generation. That's the secret to having a multi-generational business.
And can I ask you then, so your dad was working in a bakery. What got you to go into pizza then?
Economics. A lot of the bread bakers in many of the pizzerias in New York, the old pizzerias started out as bread bakeries. And they figured out that, at that time, what could you get for a loaf of bread? Supermarkets were starting to sell bread. It became a commodity item. But if you put sauce and cheese on it, it became a pizza. And you could make a living at it. So you see that transition with, John's on Bleecker Street was originally a bread bakery. Lombardi's supposedly was a grocery store. You saw it over and over again that bread bakers transitioned because they had the tools and they had the equipment and the skill to become pizza makers.
And Tony, do you have anything to add?
Well, like I told you guys from the beginning, I was fortunate enough to have a father in the business also, like both you guys, and it was just kind of a natural progression for me because I'd follow him, I'd go to the pizzeria with him, I'd hang out with him, and it was me, my brother, my sister sometimes, but not quite as much, and so we kind of were born in the business. So it wasn't a shock to me, working late, weekends, Saturdays, fortunately I have a wife who understands that and a family also that understands that too. So my wife and kids, understand my late hours and my crazy hours sometimes. But like I said, staying with my father, working side by side with him for so many years was just a blessing and seeing things. And like John says, we do tweak things over the years. The basic recipes, those things stayed the same, but we do pay more attention to, how you bench rest, how how much water exactly we're adding, not just filling up a number 10 can and praying and hopefully it all works out. So
you've all been in business a pretty long time, and the thought's been brought up: if it's not broke, don't fix it. In light of that, and in light of all the competition that's come to the fore and all the chains that have come up and arisen, how do you guys keep yourself ahead of the competition in your operation? Tony, would you like to start us off on that?
Well, sure. Yeah, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of things involved there. The main thing is, while my product didn't necessarily change that much, and it has been tweaked slightly over the years. things for the sauces, I think, palettes do change a little bit. So when we do make our tweaks, it's minor, but for the most part, staying on the cutting edge of technology when we were one of the first to have, as far as independents are concerned, because everybody was writing with guest checks and handwriting tickets. We were one of the first to get a POS system. We were one of the first to integrate, caller ID when it just came out in the mid-90s. It would speed things up to work into our POS system, so we'd have all the information readily available. We use that information to market. So even though we're a single store independent, I really like what the chains do from a marketing standpoint and from an advertising standpoint. So I try to piggyback off of their ideas and see what they're doing and see that end of it. So while I don't necessarily have to love their pizza, I do like the way they get customers in the door. And so I try to grab some of those ideas. Like, we were the first one to have our own independent app for online ordering as far as an independent pizzeria is concerned in the city of Chicago. So again, I wanted to piggyback off of those dollars. They were spending millions of dollars promoting online ordering, and I didn't want to, I figured, let's jump on their backs. They're spending tons of money. Let me benefit from some of that. And I didn't want to lose customers because as we know, there's a ton of millennials out there, my kids included, that don't necessarily want to talk to somebody. So again, I always wanted to be cutting edge. I just totally revamped our online ordering system. I saw a huge jump in business. We could talk about third parties, but that's kind of a nasty subject for me because we could do a whole seminar on that. I'm actually getting away from most of the third parties. I jumped on the bandwagon, now I'm jumping off, and basically got rid of all of them except for Grubhub, and I'm phasing them out slowly too. So, keeping those customers just by basically making our website and our online ordering site as slick and easy to use as possible. And then we continue to market to those customers. I do email marketing. I do, it's changed from the days of just hand passing flyers door to doors back in, 1978 when we started as to, black and white flyers and just sticking them on people's doors. And that's how we got started. But, that stuff's completely evolved. And so from a technology point and marketing standpoint, definitely many changes.
Giovanni?
How we've stayed ahead of the competition is attending seminars, going to the trade shows, learning about new products, seeing if there's a way to improve the quality. King Umbertos, we don't deliver. We're pickup only. So we put a big emphasis on customer service. And this is going to sound kind of corny, but we know a majority of our customers on a first-name basis. We still participate. We still sponsor Little League teams. PAL, PTA. We try to do stuff for the community as much as we can. Social media. We have introduced some new products. We want to make sure that the product is good. And then we like to put it out there. We like to use Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. I think those things are very important, especially for the younger generation. That's where we've been able to make a good transition from the elderly customers that we have to the new generation of customers. I think we do a really good job with our Instagram page. We have hired other people to help us with the photos and promoting the new products and the current products that we have. I think there's always a formula for a success when you have a business that's been there for 30, 40, 50 years. You want to stick with that formula. Again, I don't want to sound repetitive. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you also, like Tony mentioned, you have to adapt with the times. The online ordering is very important. I think, developing a good app is very important nowadays. Like he said, the millennials, the younger generation doesn't really like to talk to people. So it affects us a little bit because we are the type of place where when you come in there, we like to have a conversation with our customers. We like to get to know you. And we've noticed even hiring the younger generation that they're not really as personable as people once were. It's sad to say that, but it's true. So you got to kind of find a way to adapt to that. And I think that's the key to longevity, is just to pay attention to the trends, see what's going out there, continue to learn, continue to educate yourself. Again, like what you guys are doing today, I think is great. I started doing this a few years ago, and it's helped my business tremendously. Attending the seminars, going to the trade shows, seeing what other people are doing, and learning from them, absorbing like a sponge.
John?
Yeah, I think they both hit on something really important, and that's that, first of all, you identify who you are. And even though you're changing and evolving, you never lose sight of what your real appeal is and what your real position in the market is. But it's important for you to be able to adapt and modernize And, most of us have all been in a position where we look at the big chains and say, oh, I don't have to worry about those guys. I can remember, in the 80s when the big chains started to really pop, the independents were all like, oh, I never have to worry about those guys. They're not going to be a threat to me. I'm an independent pizzeria. I have a better product, yada, yada, yada. And that might have been true at one time, but Scott, how many Little Caesars are there in New York? How many Domino's are there? How many? Right. So it's not impossible that those chains can take some of your business. So as Tony was saying, we ignore them at our own peril. You have to watch them and say, okay, what can we learn from them? We may not be learning much about product, but we certainly have to learn something about how effective they've been at reaching customers and anticipating how the market has changed. And we don't want to end up being like dinosaurs. We have to constantly adapt. Tony's been great at that. If you go to his pizzeria, I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's like what they're doing behind the scenes. The product, the value, the quality of the product has never changed, but the way that you operate, I mean, it's like state of the, it's great. And I'm sure you always want to modernize, you always want to make it better. But Tony's use of social media, his use of technology, his relation to his customers, how they take orders, it's top of the line. And we have to realize that our customers are constantly changing. And it's harder, when I started in the business, when I opened my first store, when I moved away from my family, moved out to Las Vegas in 1980, I was 24 years old. My partner was 23 years old. So our customers looked and thought a lot like we did. Now I'm 65 years old. My customer is a different demographic. My older customers are not getting out that much anymore. So we have to be aware of that, and we have to constantly be figuring out ways to stay in touch with what the new generation of customers values and what resonates with them. I think it's important to always be aware of that and not ignore it. It's easy to write off, I hate social media, I don't like Facebook, I don't like Instagram, I don't like texting. Maybe I don't, but the truth is, as you said, our new customers don't want to talk to a real voice on the phone. So we have to be conscious that even the way we package the product has changed. Everything has evolved, and if we ignore it at our peril.
So we touched on chains, and we know how chains usually work. They compete based on price, and all of you guys talked about the quality of your product and not compromising on that. So when it comes to your marketing and keeping yourselves relevant and being able to compete with these guys that are selling stuff really cheap, how do you portray the quality of your product to your customers through your marketing, through other means that you might have? Giovanni, would you like to start with that?
One more time.
All right, I'll start you out because you're the one that kind of brought up this question to me. You talked about Instagram and your use of Instagram and bringing someone in to take good pictures.
Yeah.
What I found in marketing is that if you're going to do Instagram or social media, don't put any old junk picture that you just snapped on your camera on there, because that's how your product's going to be conveyed.
Right.
So you're competing with other ones based on the quality of your product.
Correct. Yeah.
So why did you think it was important to invest in a photographer to take some pictures for your Instagram?
People are becoming more educated about pizza. And I think, Scott, you touched about this in the previous seminar. People are starting to understand more and more what a good pizza is supposed to look like and what a good pizza is supposed to taste like. And I think a good way of proving to them is, and I do this and I'm guilty of it, show them your crumb structure. Show them the mozzarella that you're using. Show them the tomatoes that you're using. Let them know, hey, listen, I'm using a good product. And if you really understand what good pizza is supposed to look and taste like, come try this. And I think a free and easy way of doing that is taking great pictures on Instagram and posting it on Facebook. Social media has turned out to be like, it used to be NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC. Now it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. That's the best way to relate to your new audience. We've had a couple of TV appearances and we've done a couple things on social media, And what we've learned is that the social media has affected our growth more than the TV appearances has recently. And I'm sure that was different 10, 15, 20 years ago, but that's completely changed. So if you're making a good pizza, and I think Mama's too, and Franco's here, they do an awesome job of, I would have never went to New York City. I'm 45 minutes away from Manhattan. I would have never went to try his pizza unless I would have seen the picture of it on Instagram first, And we're people in the industry. We know what it's supposed to look like. We know what products are good. We know what products are bad. We know what it's supposed to taste like. But the great thing about this is customers are starting to understand that too. So, we're doing a good job of educating the customers. And the better job we do of that, I think the more return you'll see in your business, And an easy way to convey your product is, again, through social media. So,
John, would you like to add to that? How do you portray the quality of your product when it comes to your marketing?
I think one of the most important things, like we said earlier, about understanding who you are and not allowing your product to be turned into a commodity. We're not a discount pizzeria. If you start over-couponing, over-discounting, if that becomes your message, if you do it too often, too frequently, in the customer's mind, you're planting the seed that that's what my product is worth. It's worth less money. It's worth 2 for 1, or it's worth whatever. And your message has to be consistent. Your message has to be a message of quality versus quantity or low price. There's more to value than just a low price. And that's a mistake that a lot of us make when we see that Pizza Hut is selling a pizza for $5. And we're like, okay, we better figure out how we can make a pizza for $5. No, you shouldn't. I urge everybody to figure out what their pizza is worth and charge accordingly, and not be afraid of it. Not everybody is going to be your customer. And you have to understand that in order to stay in business. There are some customers that are, there's some customers that are BMW customers and some customers that are Hyundai customers. You can't get all of them. You can't chase all of them. You have to identify what your market is, make a product that suits that market, and charge what you need to charge for it. Otherwise, you're going to be out of business anyway. You're just prolonging the agony.
Guess I should trade in my Hyundai, huh?
If it helps you afford good pizza, no, keep it.
It's a good delivery
I want to
car.
touch on something that John mentioned. Couponing. I think that's a trap that we kind of all fell into, and I think it was at one of these expos many years ago. I saw Bill Marvin doing a seminar on it, and he called couponing the crack cocaine of the clueless, and it's really so true because it's almost like an addiction. Hey, I put these coupons out. I put $2 off on. I got X amount of customers. You get this little pop in business. Let's put $3 out. Let's put $4 out. I got more business. But less is sticking to your fingers at the end of the day. So it's a sticky trap. I've tried to get away from couponing, and I was one of those guys that was guilty early on, using a lot of coupons to try to get customers in. I had to wean myself off of it, man, just like a drug, and slowly just tail back to not lose business and let the customers understand, hey, you got to pay full price for quality. And I couldn't agree more with what John and Giovanni said. One, as far as not discounting our product, because we work really, really hard at what we do. We're passionate about it. We love what we do. But at the end of the day, we still got to make money. And you just can't give the stuff away, and you can't just keep discounting yourself out of business. I've seen too many people do that, and then touching quickly on the pictures, you're actually, Scott, you're the one that taught me about that. People will definitely know the difference between what your food really looks like and stock photography. So, you'll find someone, there's going to be a local photographer that'll do a great job for you. I think I paid $300. He came in for like 2 days, took pictures, cleaned them up for me. There's always students and stuff willing to do that. So, that's my suggestion, and that was actually, you told me to do that, Scott, and that was great advice.
I have a question for the audience. How many of you are using things like Groupon? Anybody still using Groupon? Okay, it's become less now.
Yeah.
How many of you see that Groupon customer when you're not doing Groupon? Because they always sell it, they sell it on, you're going to get these repeat customers, you're going to introduce them to your business.
And bottom feeders.
Groupon customer is a Groupon customer. They're not a JB Albertos customer,
right,
or a King Umberto's customer. They're loyal to the group, to the discount, not to your product. Make a great product and build loyalty around your product, not around the price.
Now, John, once a year you have an event where you do things for half price, and you have a fantastic response to this. And I want John to tell you about this, but just remember, even if you're not a discount pizzeria, you have a quality product, you want to maintain your integrity in the eyes of your customers, if you have a good reason or a good event, a special occasion to offer something that you normally would not, there's nothing wrong with that. We're not saying that you can never have a sale. And just listen to what John does here, and this is going to tell you why he gets such a great response.
We do a Black Friday special the day after Thanksgiving every year, and we sell a gift card. Buy a $25 gift card, get a second one for free. I'd like to take a guess at how many we sell. How many? Somebody said 50,000.
He wouldn't be here.
Well, thanks, Joe. We usually sell out in about 50 minutes. We start at 7 o'clock. By 8 o'clock, we're completely done. We sell $250,000 worth of cards. Okay.
Wow. And why not? People know he has a quality product because 364 days of the year, it's not on sale. And so he promotes this one day of the year, and he can do $250,000 before the store even opens.
Right. We're done by 8 o'clock. Before the stores have even opened, we've had $250,000 in sales.
What time do they start lining up for that?
I usually start about 12 o'clock the night before, Thanksgiving night. There are people sitting outside with chairs and space heaters, television sets.
That's great.
Do you limit to how much?
We do. We limit it to $600 per person. Okay, and we have a limited number of. We've identified that $250,000 is the most that we can afford to sell. Because you're selling $250,000, you're giving away $250,000. But the only customers that are going to be waiting on that line are diehard customers that are really engaged and connected to our business, and it's sort of a thank you for another year's worth of loyalty. Of course, we get some hate mail from the people that get turned away at the end, but we do what we can do. But, we've got tremendous coverage, media coverage over the years for that event. I always call you the next day and say, this year I call Scott and say, this year we sold out in 45 minutes. Our goal now is not to sell more cards because we can't afford to sell more cards. Our goal is to sell them faster.
Sell them faster.
How far in advance of Black Friday do you promote it?
Now we really don't have to promote it anymore. We used to start around September. We don't really have to promote it anymore. Now by around July, people are saying, are you going to have the Black Friday sale this year? So we really don't have to promote it anymore. It's just grown so organically and spontaneously on its own. But that's our one day of really deep discount. And those customers, naturally, we have a high redemption rate, probably about 97%. Sure. But those customers are going to be loyal to us all year. And some of them are going to give the cards away as gifts to new customers. Some of them are going to keep them for themselves, which is really what usually happens.
Mm-hmm. And Tony, you had an event a couple years ago for your 50th anniversary.
I did.
And you kind of went crazy giving stuff away. How'd that work out for you?
It worked out really well. So it was our 50th anniversary, and actually Scott was present, and we had Tony Troiano out there, and he did some acrobatic stuff. So I started promoting it on Facebook, which we are a single store, but we have almost 50,000 followers on Facebook. So I advertised the message on there. That's one of the few times I actually spent money on Facebook to advertise, and it really paid off. We gave away. So what I was doing was giving away a free slice of pizza to everybody, just to say thank you to all of our customers and stay engaged in the neighborhood, make sure they know that we really appreciate them. And so we gave away about 3,000 slices in 4 hours. So from like 4 to, actually 7:30, I think we stopped, right? Yeah. The line was way down the block. It was really a great day for me. It was a moment for me to actually walk down that whole, I walked all the way down and just shook everyone's hand, thanked them for being such a long-term customer. And the great part about it was so rewarding to me because they all had a great story. Oh my God, I was ordering your pizza since I was 5 years old, 10 years old. And it worked. It really worked for all of us. And it was a great way to say thank you. We also gave away T-shirts. We had a limited number of T-shirts, but we gave away like 300-400 T-shirts too. But it was great. It was flattering to have a line all the way down the block, And it was pouring rain that day too. Remember? Yeah, it was raining.
Yeah, it was chilly that day.
But and the crazy thing about that is while we were giving away slices, it was on a Wednesday, and it was probably our busiest Wednesday for paying customers because some people didn't want to wait in line, so they were ordering pizzas and still coming in. So it's like, and the rest, it just continued through the rest of that weekend, and just a goodwill that it created amongst our customers, always letting them know, thank you. You have a lot of choices out there, but you choose JB Albertos. We really appreciate you. And any opportunity I got to thank them, I do.
Giovanni, a question for you. Since you've been in business for so many decades and you're marketing now to younger people, do you use the fact that you've been in business for so many years? Do you think that instills confidence in them?
Yeah, I think so. You got to kind of develop that reputation through your product, though. You can't just tell somebody, hey, I've been making pizza since I was 16, and I'm 36. I've been making pizza for 20 years. In New York, the attitude is like, so what? Let me see your pizza then, So you got to do it through your product. You got to actually be there, It's funny, I was talking to one of my friends who's a little bit younger than me about this seminar, and I told him it's about longevity in the pizza business. And he goes, what do you know? You're 36 years old. What do you know about longevity? He goes, tell them you wake up every morning at 9 o'clock. Tell them sometimes you stay until 1 o'clock in the morning the next day. And tell them that you're always behind the counter. And that's how you develop a reputation. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. You just got to work hard, continue to improve, learn from the older generation, Don't be scared to ask questions. Don't be scared to call John Arena at 3 o'clock in the morning if you have his cell number.
Not at 3 o'clock in the morning.
He'll answer you.
I'll be selling it with his gift cards this Black Friday if anybody needs it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hard work, dedication. Love what you do. If you don't love what you do, it's going to show. Don't get burnt out. Take time off. Go to Vegas. Go to Miami. Go to Italy. Spend time with your family. Spend time with your friends. Make sure you have a clear head and just work hard and just love what you do. That's it.
Let's see, we're getting close to our time. As time goes on and different trends and fads are seen in the industry, you guys have this long-standing reputation of a great product. How do you feel about things like adding home delivery, or are you adding a gluten-free product? Are you doing a cauliflower crust? When do you pick up products like that and change your menu up a little bit? John, would you like to start us off with that?
I think you have to really develop an intuitive sense of the difference between a fad and a trend. A trend is something that you can take advantage of that's going to have some longevity, and a fad is going to be gone in a couple of weeks. Obviously, gluten-free pizza is going to be here. It's going to be around for a while. It's worth exploring. Is cauliflower crust going to be around for a while? I don't know. That's one that seems to me to be something that might be more of a fad. It's popular right now, but next year it'll be replaced by something else. You don't want to waste your time on stuff that's a fad. By the time you recoup the investment that it takes to do training, put in the right equipment, develop the product, that fad might be gone. The trends are things that are going to last for a while, and some of them become perennials. They're around forever. We've all seen that. Things that didn't exist. I'm sure that Roman pizza is here to stay. Detroit style is here to stay. Those are not fads. Those are trends. And we have to be mindful of those and be able to identify the difference between those two.
Tony?
Well, yeah, I couldn't agree with John more than that. Honestly, we try to have an identity. We are a Chicago-style pizzeria. I make thin, I make pan, and I make stuffed. And I don't try to be everything to everybody. You know, when Neo got hot 5 years ago, I guess you could have put a wood burning oven in, and I could have done that too. And you know, Roman's getting real hot. I don't wanna be that pizzeria. I wanna have my niche. I wanna do it really well and keep those customers happy. And that's really you know, there's a hot dog stand in Chicago, and all they sell is single dog, double dog, and sodas, and they come with fries. And that's all they do. And it's Gene and Jude's hot dogs, and it's probably one of the most famous hot dog stands in the world. And lying out the door all the time, that's all they do. I don't want to be everything to everybody. I just want to be that pizzeria that they love going to. It's that comfort food. We're just delivery too, I want to add. So we don't have a sit-down restaurant. We're strictly carry-out and delivery. Even my carry-out counter, very small, you know, kind of in and out, get them out as quick as we can. But that's what we do. And I don't want to be everything to everyone.
Giovanni?
As far as the delivery aspect is concerned, I don't think that's in the foreseeable future for us right now. As far as introducing new products, that's something that I've had a lot of fun with in the past 5 years, but I think that starts with listening to your customer. And for me, for example, the gluten-free Sicilian, I introduced it because I noticed that in Nassau County, a lot of people are selling gluten-free grandma, gluten-free wood fire, but nobody was doing a thicker crust. So I saw that as a window of opportunity, and people were asking for something a little bit different when it came to the gluten-free. My only thing is, if you're going to introduce a new product, please make sure you do it right. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. Don't just throw it out there because your customers are asking for it, because then I don't think personally it will last. Same thing with the Metro pizza that I made, the Pizza Impala, the Roman-style pizza. It took me a while to get it right. I worked on the formula a long time. Just listen to your customers. You know, the new thing that we're messing with right now is vegan cheese. I was talking to Paulie G before about getting a good vegan cheese. We're getting more demands now for the vegan stuff too. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do it, make sure you do it right. Try to figure out if there's an actual demand for it. And just like Tony said, just because the wood-fired pizza stuff was trendy a few years ago, doesn't mean you got to put a wood-fired pizza oven in your pizzeria. You know, do something that works for you. Do something that you think will resonate well with your customers. That's more important too. Yeah.
All right, thanks. When I worked in retail, before I was in pizza, fad, we always referred to it as a mnemonic for remembering for a day, because that's all it really lasts. And John brought that out, and bringing out the difference between a fad and a trend. And our saying with retail was that you don't have to be the first to jump on the bandwagon, but you don't have to be the last either. You can sit back, you can listen to your customers, and see where it fits in, and be able to develop and bring it in as a product that is as quality as what you're already serving. But I've always remembered that for a day, and to watch things, and I think you guys brought that out in an excellent way. For all of you, and to kind of wrap it up before we do some question and answer, is there one key factor that you feel has kept your pizzeria going? Is there something that you would advise everyone in the audience so that someday they can celebrate their 50th, 40th anniversary of their pizzeria? What would you tell these people as one key piece of advice that could make their business outlast the statistics that we have today? Tony, would you like to start us off?
Wow, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of little pieces to it, but I think it started with having a great culture within, and letting my entire staff buy into it. So that would allow me some time to get out of the pizzeria and enjoy some of the things that I like to do outside of the pizzeria, because if you don't have that life balance, I think me and Giovanni were just talking about it, and I'm not stealing your answer, buddy. But it is true, though. We love what we do, but to do it even better, you got to get out of your store sometimes. You got to get out of there. You got to have some fun, because then when you come back, you're re-energized. Coming to shows like this, you're going to come back with all these ideas, and your staff's going to look at you like, oh, no, he looks a little crazy, man. What's he got in his eyes there? But, it's the kind of stuff that really, really helps your business. But create a great culture. Make them believe in you and your system, so that when you're not there, everything is running exactly the same. That's a hard thing to do, but when you can do that, I think you got some magic there, and that allows you to do other things that you enjoy doing for fun in your life. that keeps you well balanced.
John?
For me, I think that I try to focus on, I guess you asked for one thing, but there's three components, what I call the 3 Ps of my business. The people, meaning our teammates, our family of employees, and keep being mindful of our obligation to them, the product, and the public. If you concentrate on those 3 things, your customers, your product, and your people, you can be around for 50 years. If you drop the ball, if you get distracted, you're done. So it's really, everything that you do is in service to that. If you're spending your time on anything other than those 3, you're on your way to being extinct.
Great advice.
Giovanni?
What Tony and John said. Balance. Yeah, I think balance is important. Family time is family time. Going out with your friends, that's important. Going to the gym. Do what you love to do outside of work. Don't forget that you have a life outside of, as much as you love what you do, and trust me, I love what I do, don't lose track of other things in life that are important to you. Keep your head clear. If things start to get a little bit overwhelming and a little stressful, don't be scared to take some time off. We're only human. You got to remember that as well. Care about your product. Care about your customers. Care about your staff. Get to know your purveyors. Make sure they're providing you with the right stuff. Keep learning. Keep growing. Keep evolving. Keep coming to the seminars. Keep going to the trade shows. Anything to do that inspires you and motivates you, whatever it may be, whether it be reading a book or going to a different pizzeria. Travel. Go see other pizza shops. That's helped me tremendously. See what other people are doing. Learn from their mistakes and learn from what they're doing right.
Thank you. I think we have time for a couple questions. Anybody in the audience have a question for one of these guys? Sir in the back, you're going to have to be loud. Okay, so your biggest obstacle over these years, John?
I know almost everybody is going to nod their head in agreement. Staffing. How do you get people to buy in? How do you get people to love this the way that we love it? To care about it as much as we do? That's the challenge. How do you create a culture that's going to keep a stable staff so that you can develop their skills to the level that you want them to be?
My biggest obstacle was I got really into it at one point and I got a little burnt out. And actually, at one point in my life, I actually thought about leaving the business. That's how burnt out I got. So that was my biggest obstacle, overcoming the fear of working too much. Am I here too much? What's going on with the outside world? I lost track of a lot of things. And luckily, over the past few years, I've been able to get back on track.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with John more. Without a great staff, we're only as good as the people that work with us, not for us, but with us. Like Giovanni, I reached the point too where I was working day and night constantly, and I reached that breaking point too where I'm like, if something doesn't change here, but without a great staff, you can't do it because we can't do everything, I started realizing, hey, I'm not the only one that can make dough. Hey, I'm not the only one that can go and take care of this. I started delegating. I started being appreciative, and my employees, they actually embrace when you give them more responsibility. They love it, and they're proud to make you happy too. When you create that good culture within, and I got a huge staff, and they have to buy into the system and believe in us and our mission, or they're not going to last long. And I got some employees that have been with us for, decades. So.
Do you have another question for the panelists? Sir?
For John, you say you have 5 pizzerias. How do you start managing the other ones? How do you start expanding?
Well, for me, I have my cousin who's my business partner. I have my dad who's still active in the business, and I have Chris. You're not going to have a team that's, I have 225 employees. They're not all going to be superstars, but you have to develop a core team that before you think about expanding, a core team that will enable you to step away and dedicate yourself to store number 2 or store number 3. So, for us, it's all about development. And when you do identify a great person, how do you hold on to him? I pointed out Chris, for example. He's our partner now. And it wasn't a gift. He worked for it. So you have to be able to identify the people that have the potential, who have the same values that you have, and then you have to nurture them, and you have to reward them.
Thank you. Ma'am?
You offer benefit packages, you offer insurances for your employees, and when were you able to start that?
Okay, so the question, do you offer benefit packages for your employees, and when were you able to start that?
We do. Yeah, we do.
Giovanni, you want to start?
We do. You have to work for us for some time, but it's funny because you want to make it. We can all agree that it's hard to find good staff, So you want to make it desirable, and you want to reward your employees who have been with you for a long time, whether it be partnership in another location or providing them with benefits or 401k or whatever it is. That's one of the ways that we've kept a lot of our good workers. We have people that started up as dishwashers who have been with us since day one, who are now the chefs. And, I think it's important to take care of the employees, like John said, the ones that have been with you. If you have a good staff, you want to keep them. If that means that you have to spend a little bit extra money on them, I think it's worth it instead of keep retraining new guys. We do offer that. It's always been something that we've done. I'm not sure because we do have like an office department that deals with that, exactly how it works. But right now we have about 40 employees, and I think we offer health benefits to about half the staff because the other half of the staff is part-time.
Okay. Sir?
Two of you guys own single units, right? You're single units. John has multiple. How do you know when you should endeavor to open up another unit?
Okay, so the question is, how do you know when it's time to go to the second unit to start expanding and adding more stores? John, you're most qualified for that question, so how did you know when it was time to do a second metro?
I think the first question is, do you want to open a second store? Because there's always this assumption that I open up 2 stores, 3 stores, I'm going to make twice as much money, 3 times as much money. You're not. Okay, for us, the inspiration for opening a second and third store was to give opportunity to some superstar team members that deserved a future. So it wasn't just generated by I want to make more money. You can dedicate yourself to one gangbuster store and actually probably put more money in your pocket with less headaches. So you have to be motivated by something else, which for us was, how do I create a future for my core employees? So we have a core group of employees that have been with us for over 20 years who are part of a partner group. They own a part of our business, including the real estate. So we have 3 freestanding buildings.
Yeah, thank you.
Another thing, I just want to add one quick thing to that. You really shouldn't even think of opening a second location. I don't want a second location because I'm really happy with my situation. But until that first location can run 100% on its own without you even being present, then you can focus your energies on a second place. Or as John said, he was fortunate enough to have great people like Chris and the rest of his staff that he brought in to do stuff like that. But it shouldn't even be a thought. If you're behind the ovens working your tail off every day and you're saying, hey, I want a second location, that's definitely not the time to do it. It should be when that place is running 100% on its own without you present.
Yeah, there's only so many Chris Deckers in the world. John was lucky to get one of them.
Yeah, right. No doubt about that.
Okay,
Thanks a lot, guys. He's going to ask for a raise as soon as this seminar is over.
Okay, the gentleman in the vest.
You guys all talked about with the employees getting buy-in so you can have great staff. And you mentioned knowing what the mission is, having them buy into your mission. Can you talk to us a little bit about what the missions are for your businesses?
Okay, so we're talking about your employees buying into your culture, your mission statement. How do you get them to do that?
What is the mission? What is your mission?
Giovanni, your head's rattling.
Yeah, I
there.
know. I'm thinking about what our mission is. I mean,
What is your mission? 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 What is your
when you have a place that's been in business since 1976, what is that, 43 years, staff meetings, you have to continuously express your mission, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to accomplish, which I think for every business is growth and increased profit margin. Not only that, but the culture. Like I said to you before, I think when people walk into King Umberto's, they feel special. We make them feel like they're a part of something, you know? We know them on a first name basis. We know that their kids play for the St. Catharines CYO team. And sometimes that just has to be embedded by leadership. You have to be the one doing that, setting the example, so the other employees see, well, like the owner really cares, so that makes me really care too. I don't think we exactly have, to be honest with you, I don't think we have a mission statement. I wish I could tell you, but I think it's more about, like, you know, feeling a part of the team, what the culture is, getting them to buy into that, which I think the way you get them to buy into that, whatever your statement is or whatever you're looking to achieve, is to lead by example. And, you know, maybe every 6 months, every 3 months, we like to have staff meetings. We like to set the tone at the staff meeting, like for this quarter, this is what we want to achieve. And if you guys could help us out by doing X, Y, and Z. And not only do we just tell them and expect them to do it, like either me or my brother, again, we like to lead by example. If we want to, you know, for example, we want to get to know more of the customers. We see a lot of new faces. We don't know their names. So this month, we want you guys to participate in introducing and interacting with the customers, maybe giving away a free slice, not necessarily promoting it, just doing it and saying, here, this is on us. By the way, my name is Chris. My name is Joe. I work here every Tuesday. Feel free to stop by next week. Something as simple as that.
I also think that the customer or your employees they kind of forget. Like if we used to spread out our staff meetings, kind of like Giovanni was talking about, do it like quarterly or whatever. But what I noticed is really working for us now is I have what we call these little huddles. So I have a huddle at least once a week with each group, and I split them up separately. So I'll grab all my phone operators, and you know, if there's 10 of them there at that time, I'll say, hey guys, get all over here, let's all talk, and we're going to focus on customer service, order accuracy, all that kind of stuff. And it's done in 5 minutes, so it's fresh in their head. It's right before the shift starts, and it's ready to go. Because what happens is, I noticed, one, like sometimes staff meetings get a little bit drawn out. Like by the end of the hour, they're like, okay, this is getting a little boring, you know. But 5 minutes, you got their attention, and it's right before a shift, so it's fresh in their heads. Pizza makers, if I saw something that was going a little bit wrong, huddle up. I grab them all together. There's a bunch of them. I'll get them all together. We'll talk. I say, listen, here's what I want to do. Let's make sure this, you know, I noticed the sauce wasn't getting close enough to the edge. There's all the little detailed stuff, and just run over that stuff with them. So the huddles, for me personally, were more effective. As far as keeping it fresh in their head and making sure that they all buy into the system and understand.
Well, I really want to thank the audience for your rapt attention to these guys. These guys are just volumes of wisdom up here to help all of us out, and I'd like to show some appreciation